Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
No one agreed on when the Emperor's beast first appeared. Some said it was detected as a gravitational anomaly at the edge of the Perseus arm, a distortion that bent starlight into impossible angles. Others insisted it emerged from a failed jump corridor, slipping through a tear in space-time left behind by an experimental fleet. The official record stated only this: unidentified entity encountered, fleet engagement unsuccessful. Everything else was classified. Admiral Saranvale had been there. What remained of her fleet drifted around her command vessel, like a graveyard. Fractured hulls, silent engines, escape pods that never launched. The stars beyond shimmered strangely, as if reality itself had been scorched. And at the center of it all, at first, she thought was debris. A cluster of broken ships, fused together by the violence of battle. Then it moved, not with thrusters, not with any propulsion her instruments could detect. It simply shifted, as if space bent to accommodate it. Report, she had ordered, her voice steady only through years of discipline. Her sensor's officer didn't answer. He was staring. Everyone was. The thing was vast, larger than anything they had ever faced, yet gave off no recognizable energy signature. Its surface resembled overlapping plates of black metal, but they flowed and adjusted like living armor. Between them pulsed veins of violet light, like blood in a body too large to comprehend. And its head, if that was what the forward mass represented, tilted, not randomly, deliberately. It was looking at them. "Open a channel," Vale said. "Admiral," her comms officer whispered. "To what?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know. But she refused to let fear dictate the moment. "Broadcast on all frequencies," she said. "Standard first contact protocol." The message went out. A greeting, coordinates, an offer of peaceful exchange. It echoed into the void. The beast listened. Nothing happened. For a long moment, the stars held still. Then one of the escort frigates, Vigilant Dawn, fired. The captain would later be blamed, posthumously, for panic. But Vale had seen the sensor logs. The frigate's weapons had activated before any command was issued, as if something had reached into the system and pulled the trigger. The beam struck the beast's surface. For a fraction of a second, it seemed to do nothing. Then the light bent, folded inward, vanished. The beast moved. Vale never remembered giving the order to retreat. She remembered shouting, the deck lurching, systems failing in cascades, ships breaking apart not from impact, but from forces that ignored the rules of matter itself. One cruiser compressed into a sphere no larger than a shuttle. Another stretched, its hull thinning into threads before snapping apart. No explosions, no fire, just unmaking. And through it all, the beast did not rush. It did not rage. It did not hunt. It simply acted, each movement precise, controlled, almost restrained, as if it were swatting at something irritating rather than destroying a fleet. "Admiral," her tactical officer screamed. "It's targeting us." Vale gripped the command rail. Evasive. The words died in her throat, because the beast wasn't attacking. It had stopped. The chaos around them faded into drifting silence. The remaining ships, few as they were, hung motionless, and the beast approached. Every instinct in Vale's body screamed at her to run, to fire, to do anything but sit there as that impossible thing closed a distance. But she didn't, because something in the way it moved, measured, curious, told her this was not an attack. It came to a halt just beyond the hull, close enough that its massive form filled every viewport. The violet light pulsed slowly, rhythmically, like breathing. "Admiral," her comms officer whispered. "It's scanning us." Vale nodded, though her hands trembled. "Then let it," she said. Seconds stretched, or minutes. Time lost meaning. Then the beast lowered its head. And for one impossible moment, Vale felt it. Not a voice, not words, but a presence. Vast, ancient, alien beyond comprehension. And beneath it, something else. Confusion. Then Just as suddenly as it had come, the feeling vanished. The beast pulled away, turned, and drifted into the void. It left the fleet alive. That was what haunted Vale most. Not the destruction, not the power, but the choice. When she delivered her report to the Emperor, she spoke plainly. "It could have destroyed us all," she said. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "And yet it did not." "No, Your Majesty." "Why?" Vale hesitated, because the answer sounded absurd, because it felt like madness, because it implied something far more dangerous than a weapon. "It didn't understand us," she said finally. The Emperor smiled. "Then we will teach it." The order went out within the hour. All available fleets were redirected. Experimental containment technologies were authorized. Entire divisions of scientists, engineers, and tacticians mobilized for a single purpose: capture the beast. The second encounter was nothing like the first. This time, they came prepared. Gravity snares, quantum anchors, weapons designed not to destroy, but to bind. The beast did not flee. It did not resist at first. It watched. Vale was there again, against her own request. "Admiral," the Emperor had told her, "you are the only one who has seen it and lived. You will ensure we do not fail." She had wanted to refuse. She had wanted to tell him. They didn't understand what they were dealing with, but she knew it wouldn't matter. The traps activated. Space itself twisted, locking around the beast in layers of containment fields. For a moment, it held. Then the beast moved, not violently, not even urgently, just enough. One of the anchors collapsed. Then another. The fleet tensed, weapons charging, ready to escalate. "Hold your fire." Vale ordered. "Do not provoke." The Emperor's voice cut across the channel. "Proceed." And so they did. The next wave of containment hit harder, deeper, forcing the beast inward, compressing the space around it. The violet glow flared. The plates along its body shifted, and for the first time, it reacted, not with fury, but with something closer to discomfort. Vale saw in the way it moved, the slight hesitation, the adjustment, like an animal caught in something it didn't quite understand. "Stop," she whispered. No one listened. The final lock engaged. Silence fell. The beast stilled. Its glow dimmed. Its massive form ceased all movement. "Containment achieved," a technician said, barely believing it. Vale stared at the motionless creature, her chest tight, her instincts screaming, because she had seen something in that final moment, something no one else seemed to notice. The beast had not been defeated. It had allowed it. The Emperor's voice echoed through the fleet. "Bring it home." And so they did. They built a prison around it, a sphere of steel, energy, and fear. They called it unbreakable. They called it perfect. But deep within that containment field, the beast waited, and somewhere in the vast silence of its unknowable mind, it remembered, not the battle, not the pain, but the feeling, confusion, and something else, faint and distant, something it did not yet have a name for: loneliness. By the time Elias Varn arrived, the Empire had already decided the beast was a failure, not a failed weapon. No, its power was undeniable, a failure of control. The containment sphere loomed above the capital like a second artificial moon, cold, silent, and heavily guarded. Entire fleets orbited it in layered formations, weapons trained inward as much as outward. Nothing went in without authorization. Nothing came out without inspection. And inside, the beast remained. It had been 3 months. 3 months of attempts. 3 months of screams. The Empire had thrown everything at it. Neurosymbiotes designed to override instinct. Telepathic choirs capable of bending lesser minds into obedience. Genetically engineered handlers bred for high-risk contact species. Even a War AI designation, Crown 9, was granted direct interface access to the containment systems. None of them succeeded. The telepaths lasted the longest, 7 minutes. They entered as a group of 12, linked mind to mind, amplifying their collective consciousness into a single, unified will. From the observation deck, it looked promising. The beast remained still. The telepath stood before it, eyes glowing, voices synchronized in perfect harmony. Then, all 12 collapsed at once. They didn't scream. They didn't move. They simply shut down. Later, when one of them briefly regained consciousness, she managed to whisper a single sentence before falling into a permanent coma. "It's too big." The war AI lasted less than a minute. Its core processors overheated, cascading into total system failure. The engineers reviewing the logs found something deeply unsettling. There was no external attack, no intrusion, no corruption. The AI had simply stopped. After that, the Emperor's patience began to fracture. "Then we will stop asking it to cooperate," he declared, "and we will make it obey." The next attempts were not training. They were domination. Pain induction fields, sensory overload pulses, gravitational compression cycles, each method designed to break resistance, to force submission through overwhelming control. The beast endured all of it. It did not lash out. It did not retaliate. It simply withdrew. Its glow dimmed. Its movement slowed. Eventually, it stopped moving entirely. At first, they celebrated. "It's working," one of the overseers said. "We're suppressing it." Admiral Vale knew better. She stood in the observation chamber, watching the massive creature lie still at the center of its prison. "It's not submitting," she said quietly. The lead scientist frowned. "Then what is it doing?" Vale didn't look away. "It's shutting down." The Emperor did not like that answer. "Then we will find someone who can do what you cannot," he said. And so the message was sent. It spread across the Empire in hours. Through official channels, black markets, fringe colonies, and forgot outposts. A single promise: tame the beast, earn everything. Most people dismissed it as suicide. Others saw it as a trap. A few saw it as an opportunity, and died trying. And then there was Elias. He didn't arrive in a warship. He didn't arrive at all at first. The docking record showed a small, battered cargo vessel requesting entry clearance under a forged designation. The station AI flagged it immediately. "Unauthorized vessel," it reported. "Low-tier transponder spoof. Recommend denial." The officer on duty sighed. "Another one?" He glanced at the request. "Ship name: Second Chance. Pilot: Elias Varn. Purpose: hear about the beast." The officer almost rejected it. Almost. Something about the message, its simplicity, maybe, made him hesitate. "Run a background check," he said. The results were unimpressive. No military record. No formal training in xenobiology or psionics. A handful of minor criminal offenses: smuggling, unauthorized AI modification, improper use of government property. At one point, he had been fined for attempting to reprogram a sanitation drone to respond to verbal praise. The officer stared at the file. "You gotta be kidding me." Still, protocol was protocol. Anyone responding to the Emperor's call had to be processed. "Clear him for docking," he said. "Let command deal with it." Elias stepped off his ship, carrying nothing but a small pack and an expression of mild curiosity. He looked around the massive docking bay, taking the armored guards, the surveillance drones, the distant silhouette of the containment sphere visible through reinforced glass. "Big place," he muttered. 2 soldiers approached him. "Elias Varn," one asked. "That's me." "You're here for the beast?" Elias nodded. "Figure I'd give a shot." The soldiers exchanged a glance. One of them smirked. "Yeah," he said. "You and everyone else who want to die in a new and interesting way." Elias grinned. "Hey, if I'm going out, might as well make it memorable." They didn't laugh. He was escorted through layers of security, deeper into the station, until he reached the central command chamber. The Emperor was not there, but his presence was, in the form of advisors, generals, scientists, all of them watching, evaluating, dismissing. "You are Elias Varn," one of the advisors said. "Last I checked. You have no qualifications relevant to this task. Depends what you think qualifies." The advisor's expression tightened. "This is not a game. That creature has destroyed entire fleets." Elias shrugged. "Yeah, I read the summary. Big, scary, doesn't like people. Got it." A murmur of irritation spread through the room. Admiral Vale stepped forward. She studied him for a long moment. "You've never handled anything like this," she said. Elias met her gaze. "No," he said, but I've handled things nobody else could figure out. She raised an eyebrow. Such as? He thought for a moment. Once got a mining rig's AI to stop venting oxygen every time someone sneezed. Silence. One of the generals scoffed. That is not comparable. No, Elias agreed, but the principle's the same. And what principle is that? Vale asked. Elias smiled slightly. Everyone assumes a problem is what it looks like. He gestured vaguely upward toward the containment sphere. Big monster? Must need bigger chains. He shook his head. Usually it's something simpler. The room was unconvinced. The advisor exhaled sharply. This is a waste of time. He turned to Vale. Admiral, with respect, we should not even allow this man near containment chamber. Vale didn't respond immediately. She was still watching Elias, measuring him. You understand, she said slowly, that every person who has entered that chamber has either died or been permanently incapacitated. Elias nodded. Yeah. And you still want to go in? Yeah. Why? For the first time, he hesitated, just slightly. Then he shrugged. Because everyone else is trying to make it something it's not. Vale leaned forward. And what do you think it is? Elias glanced toward the distant sphere. His expression softened, not with fear, but with something else. Something that doesn't belong here, he said. The room fell quiet. Vale straightened. Then, after a long pause, she nodded. Prepare the chamber, she said. Protests erupted immediately. This is reckless. He will be dead within seconds. We gain nothing from this. Vale raised a hand. Silence returned. If he dies, she said, then nothing changes. She looked at Elias. But if he doesn't... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Elias gave a small, easy grin. Guess we'll find out. Hours later, he stood before the containment gate. Up close, the sphere was even more imposing. Layers of energy fields shimmered across its surface, distorting the view inside. Massive support structures hummed with barely contained power. Beyond it, a shadow, still, waiting. A technician approached him. Final chance to withdraw, she said. Elias adjusted his coat. Nah, he said. Came this far. Do you have any equipment? Any protective gear? He shook his head. Don't think that's going to help. She stared at him. Then what are you planning to do? Elias looked through the barrier, at the shape within, at the thing that had broken fleets and mines and machines. Then he smiled. Talk to him, he said. The gate began to open. The moment the containment gate opened, the air changed. It wasn't just pressure or temperature, though both shifted, subtly distorting around Elias as he stepped inside. It was something deeper, something harder to define, like walking into a place where the rules of existence had been loosened. Behind him, the gate sealed with a heavy, final sound. He didn't look back. Inside, the chamber stretched out like an artificial horizon, an enormous sphere of reinforced matter and layered energy fields. The interior surface shimmered faintly, constantly recalibrating to contain what it held. At the center, the beast. Up close, it was worse. Not because it was more monstrous, but because it was more real. Its surface was metal. Not entirely. The black plates shifted in slow, organic patterns, overlapping and adjusting like scales that couldn't quite decide what shape they belonged to. Between them, veins of violet light pulsed in uneven rhythms, sometimes slow and steady, sometimes sharp and erratic. It wasn't breathing, but it felt like it was. Elias took a few steps forward. The sound of his boots echoed, too loud in the vastness. Okay, he muttered. No sudden moves. No bright ideas. Just don't die. The beast didn't react. It remained exactly where it had been for weeks, motionless, dim, almost dormant. From the observation chamber above, dozens of eyes watched. Vital readings streamed across hollow displays. Subject has entered inner field, a technician reported. No immediate response from the entity. Heart rate elevated. Another added, but stable. Admiral Vale said nothing. She was focused entirely on the figure below, on the way he moved, on the fact that he kept walking. Elias stopped about 20 meters from the beast. close enough now that the scale became overwhelming. It wasn't just big, it was impossible. "You're bigger than you look from outside," he said quietly. Nothing. He scratched the back of his neck. "Right. Tough crowd." He took another step. Then another. That's when the beast reacted. The violet veins flared. The entire chamber vibrated with a low, resonant hum, like something deep beneath reality had just awakened. The air grew heavier. Gravity pulled sideways for a split second before snapping back. Elias froze. "Okay," he whispered. "There you are." The beast moved. Not fast, but enough. Its massive form shifted. Plates sliding over one another with sound like distant thunder. The head turned, those glowing fissures aligning, locking onto him. The pressure hit next. It wasn't physical. Not entirely. It was like standing too close to something vast and ancient, something that knew you didn't belong. Elias staggered slightly, his breath catching. "Yeah," he muttered. "You've got presence. I'll give you that." Up above, energy levels rising. A technician said sharply, "Field stability at 87%. "Should we abort?" Another asked. Vale shook her head. "Not yet." Below, Elias slowly raised his hands. Not in surrender, just open. "Hey," he said. The beast leaned forward. The movement was small relative to its size, but it felt enormous. The distance between them closed. 10 meters. 8. 6. The pressure intensified. Elias's vision blurred at the edges. His instinct screamed, "Run. Hide. Do something." He didn't. Instead, he let out a slow breath. "Okay," he said. "Let's try this again." The beast loomed over him now. Its presence filled everything. The light from its body flickered, unstable, reactive. Elias swallowed. Then, "Who's a good boy?" The universe hesitated. Up in the observation chamber. "What did he just say?" someone whispered. No one answered, because something had changed. The beast stopped, not like before, not in that dormant, withdrawn way. This was different. It froze mid-motion. The violet light flickered, then dimmed. The pressure in the air eased, just slightly. Elias blinked. "Huh," he said softly. He took a cautious step forward. "Yeah," he murmured. "That got your attention." The beast didn't move, but the glow along its surface shifted. Subtle, uneven pulses that didn't match its earlier patterns. Elias tilted his head. "Everyone's been yelling at you, huh?" he said. "Poking, prodding, trying to figure out how to make you do what they want." Another step. Slow, careful. "No one just talked to you." The beast's head lowered. "Just a fraction. Up above." "Is it responding?" a technician asked. Vale didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the data. The energy output had dropped. Not completely, but enough to matter. Below, Elias extended a hand. "Easy," he said. "Not here to mess with you." The distance between them was almost gone. The beast's surface shifted. Plate sliding. Energy flaring. Then settling. Elias could feel it now. Not just the pressure. Something else. A presence. Not thoughts. Not words. But something close to them. Confusion. He exhaled slowly. "Yeah," he whispered. "I get that." His hand hovered inches from the beast's surface. Close enough to feel the heat. Close enough to understand, in a very real way, that this could end him instantly. "This is probably a terrible idea," he said. Then he touched it. The reaction was immediate. The chamber shook. Alarms blared. Energy spiked across every system. "Containment field destabilizing," someone shouted. "Power surge, off the charts." Vale stepped forward. "Hold the field," she ordered. "Do not interrupt." Inside, Elias flinched as the beast's surface pulsed beneath his hand. It wasn't solid. Not completely. It shifted. Responded. Like something alive trying to understand what was feeling. Okay, easy," he muttered. The violet light surged. Then stopped. The pressure vanished. The hum faded. The entire chamber calmed. Elias blinked. "You just wanted someone to not treat you like a weapon," he said quietly. The beast exhaled. Not air, not sound, but something that rippled through its entire form. A release of tension, of energy, of something that had been holding back. The light softened, the shifting plate stilled, and for the first time since its capture, the beast rested. Up in the observation chamber, no one spoke. They watched the reading stabilize, watched the impossible happen, watched a man stand beside something that had broken everything they threw at it and not be destroyed. Vale's voice was barely audible. "It's not attacking." Below, Elias let out a shaky laugh. "Yeah," he said, "I notice." He kept his hand where it was. Slowly, carefully, he moved it just slightly. The beast didn't resist. It leaned into it. Elias froze. "No way," he whispered. A faint pulse of light traveled across the beast's surface. Softer now, almost warm. Elias smiled. "Okay," he said. "Yeah, I think I'm starting to get you." He glanced up toward the observation chamber, though he couldn't see them. "They're gonna hate this," he muttered. Then he looked back at the beast. "Still a good boy," he said. The light pulsed again, gentle, certain, and in that moment, for the first time, the beast was not a weapon, not a threat, just something that had finally been understood. The silence in the observation chamber wasn't relief. It was disbelief. Dozens of monitors streamed data that no one had ever seen before. Energy levels, stable. Containment field, no longer under strain. Neural resonance patterns, harmonized. "It's calm," one technician said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's not possible," another replied automatically. But it was. They were watching it happen. Below, in the vast chamber, Elias Varn stood beside the beast, one hand still resting against its surface, as if he were afraid that removing it might undo whatever fragile connection he had formed. The beast had not moved away. If anything, it had moved closer. Admiral Vale exhaled slowly. "Open the chamber," she said. The room snapped back to life. "What?" a general barked. "We cannot." "He's alive," Vale said. "The entity is stable. We need him out of there. Or we leave him," the advisor countered coldly. "Observe longer. Learn what he's doing." Vale turned sharply. "That man is not a test subject." Before the argument could escalate further, the Emperor entered. The chamber fell instantly silent. Every head bowed. Every voice died. He walked forward slowly, his gaze fixed on the central display, on the image of the beast, on the man standing beside it. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, "Remarkable." The word carried weight. Not wonder, not admiration. Something sharper, more calculating. "Open the chamber," he said. No one argued this time. The massive gates within the containment sphere began to shift, layers of energy peeling back, creating a narrow path outward. Inside, Elias felt it immediately. The change, the subtle shift in the air. "Yeah," he muttered, "that'll be them." The beast reacted too. Its glow flickered, not violently, but with awareness. It turned its head slightly, focusing on the opening. Elias raised a hand. "Hey," he said softly. "It's okay." The beast stilled. That alone sent another ripple of shock to the observation deck. "He's influencing it," one of the scientists whispered. "No," Vale said quietly. "He's not." She watched Elias carefully, watched the way he stood, the way he moved. "He's communicating." The gate fully opened. Elias hesitated, not because he was afraid to leave, but because he wasn't sure what would happen when he did. He slowly pulled his hand away. For a split second, the beast's light flared. The chamber trembled. "Field spike," a technician shouted. Elias froze. "Hey," he said quickly. "Easy." The beast's movement halted. The flare subsided. Elias exhaled. "Yeah," he murmured. "Still here." He took a careful step back. Then another. The beast watched him. Every motion tracked. Every shift acknowledged. Elias reached the edge of the chamber. He paused. "Look back. I'll be right there," he said. He didn't know why he said it. He just knew it felt necessary. Then he stepped through the gate. The moment he crossed the threshold, the containment field surged back into place behind him. Faster than before, stronger, more rigid. The beast reacted instantly. The violet light surged. The massive form shifted, not attacking, not breaking free, but reaching. The entire station shook. "Stabilize the field," someone yelled. Energy output rising again. Elias turned sharply. "Stop," he shouted. No one listened. The containment systems intensified. Layer after layer of force pressed inward, locking the beast back into its prison. The glow flickered, unstable now. Not calm, not soft, agitated. Elias clenched his jaw. "You're making it worse." The Emperor stepped forward, and yet it remains contained. Elias turned to face him. For the first time, the two stood in the same room. The Emperor's presence was different from the beast's. Controlled, measured, a man who believed the galaxy itself was something to be held in his hand. "You have done well," the Emperor said. His voice was calm, even approving. Elias didn't respond. The Emperor continued. "You have succeeded where all others have failed." He gestured toward the containment sphere. "You will now complete your task." Elias frowned. "That wasn't the deal." "You were tasked with taming it." "I was tasked with not getting killed trying," Elias said. "Everything else was your assumption." A flicker of irritation crossed the Emperor's face. "You have established control," he said. "Now you will formalize it." Elias shook his head. "No," he said simply. The room went still. The Emperor's gaze hardened. "You would refuse me?" Elias didn't hesitate. "Yeah." A ripple of tension moved through the guards. Hands shifted toward weapons. Not drawn, but ready. "Explain," the Emperor said. Elias gestured toward the beast. "It's not a weapon," he said. "It never was. It destroyed fleets." "Because you attacked it," Elias shot back. "Or tried to cage it." The Emperor's voice dropped. "Everything can be made useful." Elias met his gaze. "Not everything should be." Silence. Behind them, the beast's agitation grew. The light pulsed harder now. Faster. Vale stepped forward. "Your Majesty," she said carefully, "the entity's behavior is deteriorating. We should consider." "Silence," the Emperor said. He didn't look away from Elias. "You will return to that chamber," he said, "and you will ensure its obedience." Elias glanced back at the beast, then back at the Emperor. "No," he said again. The Emperor's patience snapped. "Then you are no longer of use." The guard stepped forward, and the beast moved. The containment sphere screamed. Energy surged violently across its surface. The layers of force buckled, not breaking, but straining. "Containment failure imminent," a technician shouted. The beast's attention locked onto Elias. Not on the guards. Not on the Emperor. On him. Elias raised his hands. "Hey," he called out. "Easy." The light flared, then faltered. The beast hesitated. That hesitation saved them all. Elias turned slowly to the Emperor. "You see that?" he said quietly. "That's not control." He gestured toward the trembling sphere. "That's trust." The Emperor said nothing. Elias took a step closer. "If you push this," he said, "you don't get a weapon. Another step. You get everything it's been holding back." The chamber trembled again. The Emperor looked at the beast, at the data, at the reality he could no longer ignore. For the first time, he hesitated. Then, slowly, he sat. "Release it," he said. The room erupted. "Your Majesty, this is madness." "We cannot." I said release it. This time, no one argued. The containment systems powered down. Layer by layer, field by field. The sphere opened. The beast did not explode outward, did not attack, did not flee. It simply drifted forward, massive, silent, free. The guards froze, weapons raised, but no one fired. The beast passed through the opening, through the station's outer barrier, into open space. Then it stopped and turned. Elias stood at the edge of the platform, staring out into the void. "You gonna leave without me?" he muttered. The beast waited. Elias glanced back once. At the Emperor, at Vale, at the entire machine of an empire that had tried to turn something unknowable into something owned. "Take care of your people," he said. "Maybe start by not breaking things you don't understand." No one stopped him. He stepped forward, and out. There was no suit, no tether, no protection. And yet, he did not fall. The beast moved beneath him, catching him, not physically, but with a subtle distortion of space itself, holding him. Elias let out a breath. "Okay," he said. "That's new." The violet light pulsed. Soft, steady. He smiled. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Still a good boy." The beast turned toward the stars, and together they vanished into the dark.